Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I got this hair and makeup look, so let's go ahead and jump into this tutorial. Shout out to Virgo Hair Company for sending over this wig that I'm going to style today. It's already cut in a pixie style, but I'm going to be doing some extra trimming and showing you guys how I got the look. So before I go into installing the wig, I'm going to start working on my wig cap first. So I already have my wig cap on. I'm going to start securing that down using my Got To Be freeze spray. So I'm going to spray that all over the hairline and then dry it down using the cool setting on my blow dryer. Then once the hairspray is dry, I'm going to start trimming away at that lace using my razor. So I went ahead and applied some foundation onto my wig cap just to make sure it blends better with the lace. I did that off camera, so I'm going to start applying my lace glue now. I think it's safe to say that it's been pretty hot for everyone out here, so that's the reason why I'm going to be using my lace glue instead of my typical Got To Be's freeze spray. So I'm going to apply 2 thin layers of this glue and apply that right at the edge of my wig cap. Then once the lace glue has dried down clear, I'm going to start pressing that lace frontal down. And then I'm going to go back in with my blow dryer and just make sure that that glue is nice and dry. So at this point, everything is looking pretty good. We've got our lace frontal glued down. I'm gonna start cutting away all that extra lace. And again, I'm gonna be using the same razor that I used to cut away all that excess wig cap. Right after, I'm going to start working on some baby hairs. So I'm going to start grabbing a few pieces from the hairline and start trimming those up so we can begin to style them. And then from there, going in with my Lotta Body wrapping foam, I'm going to start styling up that hairline and creating some swoops using my edge brush. You guys already know I love some edges. I love baby hairs, so I'm just going to swoop those up real quick. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to style this hair, so I went ahead and did my makeup first and then I finished my hair after. That way I can kind of see what everything is looking like. So I'm going to go back to my baby hairs and just kind of brush them out real quick to kind of give them a softer effect. And then to style the hair, I'm just gonna use some Eco Style gel. I feel like this haircut doesn't require a whole lot of styling, so I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. So I'm just gonna finger comb that gel all throughout the hair until I have the desired look that I'm going for. And that pretty much completes the hair portion of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and move on to the makeup. So to start off this makeup look, I'm going to be using the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealers in the shades C12.5 and C12. 12.5 is a lot closer to my natural skin tone, so I like to use that to carve underneath the brow. And then the shade 12 is a little bit lighter, so I'm going to add that to the center of my lid to prep for my eyeshadow. Most of the shadows I'm going to be using today are from the Carnival XL Pro palette. This is Bperfect Cosmetics palette in collaboration with Stacey Marie. The first color that I'm going to be using is the shade Mood, which is like a deep navy type of blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start applying that onto the crease in a winged shape. I'm using a Morphe M507 to do this just because it's a lot more tapered. It's going to give me that precision, but also kind of blend the color at the same time. Then to blend that out, I'm gonna go ahead and use the shade Showboat, which is like a deep kind of minty blue color. And using a Morphe M506, I'm gonna start blending out that navy blue towards the outer edge. Then for the inner portion of our crease, I'm going to use the shade Persuasion, which is like a plummy purple color, and use that to blend out Mood as well. And again, I'm using a clean Morphe M506 to apply this color. As always, I'm going to use my Fenty Beauty blotting powder to set the area above my crease just to make sure that my third transition color goes on a lot more seamlessly. I'm then going to go in with the shade Pep Talk, which is almost like a light highlighter pink, and I'm going to use that to blend out Persuasion. So you can start to see that the inner portion of that crease is on the pink side, and then the outer portion is starting to just be all blue. Then for our last transition color, I'm going to go into the Ace Beauty Oceanic palette, and taking that minty blue shade, I'm going to use that to start transitioning out those darker blue shadows on the outer portion of our crease. Before I go into cutting the crease, I want to do a little bit of cleaning up using some makeup remover. So I'm using this cleansing balm from Pharmacy, taking a little bit of that on a brush. I'm going to start carving out the shape of my cut crease and then just wipe any excess product away using a makeup wipe. Now it's time to start cutting our crease. For this, I'm going to be using the Danessa Myricks Colorfix 24-Hour Matte Colors in the shades Fireworks and Lift. I'm using a mixture of these two shades to get this baby blue type of color. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting the crease and just making sure to take my time so I get a nice, clean, crisp line. So our first cut crease is done. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on my second cut crease. Again, I'm using the Danessa Myricks Colorfix. This one is in the shade Freedom. It's like a hot pink type of color, so it goes perfectly with the look. I'm also not gonna take this cut crease as far out as I did the last one. I'm gonna probably go about halfway because I kind of want this color to almost be like an accent versus like a full-on like liner type of look. So once I have that pink color maybe about halfway through the lid, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop there. Then right after, I'm gonna go in with the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer again in the shade C1 and just create my last and final cut crease. And for this one, I'm making sure to take that concealer all the way across to the outer edge. Now I can start adding my lid shadows. The first color I'm going to use on the lid is from Jdglow Cosmetics. This is one of their single shadows in the shade N-Sane, and I'm going to start applying this onto the inner portion of my lid. I'm going to be creating almost like an ombre on the lid, so I'm going to make sure not to take this color out too far so I have space for all the other shades that I'm going to apply onto the lid as well. Then going back in with the shade Mood, I'm going to start applying that onto the outer portion of my lid as well. And I'm really just going to make sure to pack this color on really good so that way the shade is nice and pigmented. Then to blend that out, I'm going to go back in with Persuasion, which is that plummy purple color that we applied onto the crease. And I'm going to add that right in between Mood and Insane. And then next, I'm going to go back in with Pep Talk, which is that pink shade, and apply that right in between all those colors, just to really make sure everything is well blended. I'm then going to move on to creating my liner. So I'm going to go back in with that Danessa Myricks Colorfix in the shades Fireworks and Lift to create that baby blue again. I'm also going to make sure to connect it with the liner that we applied previously right above it. So when we go back to clean up, everything kind of shapes out into like a point towards the end. Then to finish up our liner, I'm going to go back in with that Danessa Myricks Colorfix in the shade Freedom and apply that directly underneath that baby blue. Next is mascara. For today, I'm going to be using Lancôme's Grandiose Extreme. This one's actually really good. I really love using this one on like no makeup days. So I'm just going to add a couple of coats of that onto my natural lashes right before I apply my falsies. And then for lashes today, I'm using Crystal Lashes in the style Maryjane. I really like these lashes. I just think they're so cute. They're really fluffy and long, and they just add like the perfect amount of drama. So I'm just gonna pop those on with my tweezers and then move right on to skin. I definitely want to do some skin prep today because my skin's been super crazy. So I'm first going to go in with the Farsali Unicorn Essence Serum and apply that directly onto the skin. And I'm just going to buff that in using a duo fiber brush. Then to prime, I'm going to use the Farsali Skintune Blur, and using that same brush, I'm just going to buff that away so we get that super smooth canvas. Next is foundation. Today I'm using the Beauty Bakerie Insta Bake Aqua Glass foundation. Sorry, I was trying to remember the whole name. So I've been really looking at like lighter coverage foundations, and this is definitely one of them. I feel like the coverage of this is perfect for the summertime. It's not too heavy or anything like that, and the shade range is obviously great. Beauty Bakerie does such a good job with like their shade range. So I'm just gonna blend that in using my Morphe sponge, and then right after I'm gonna use their Insta Bake concealer. This is the new one that they just came out with along with their foundation, and using a color that's somewhat closer to my skin tone, I'm just going to do a little bit of extra correcting just to make sure that the skin is perfect. I'm then gonna move on to concealer and just like brightening the face overall. And for that, I'm gonna be using some new Covergirl concealers. This is from their Trublend line. I'm using a mixture of two different shades. I believe this is Golden Caramel, and I can't remember the other shade, but I'll definitely put it down below in the description box. Anyways, I'm gonna use those two to brighten the under eyes and all the areas that I want some extra brightness in general. So I'm gonna add that on top of all the areas that I'm going to highlight, and using that same Morphe sponge, just kind of blend everything in so I get a nice seamless finish. To set the face, I'm also going to use a new CoverGirl loose setting powder. This one is in the shade Banana. It definitely has more of a translucent finish to it though, but I'm just going to add that using a brush because this is kind of new to me. I didn't want to go in with the sponge, kind of like risk messing everything up. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply a small amount of that on top of all the areas that I applied my brightening concealer. Next, it's time for bronzer. I love bronzer so much. It just makes the whole face like come together. So I'm using Becca's Sunlit Bronzer in the shade Ipanema Sun, and I'm gonna place that on all the areas that I want some extra warmth. Usually the shade is spot on, but since I'm a little bit more tan, I'm also gonna use a second bronzer, and that one is the Morphe Glamour Bronze Bronzer in the shade Phenom. And right on top of my Becca bronzer, I'm just gonna add that on top of all the areas that I want a little bit of extra depth. Because this bronzer is a little bit deeper, it just works better to kind of sculpt the face a lot more. So I'm gonna add a small amount of that. Right after, I'm gonna add some blush. For today's blush, I'm using one from the Tutti Frutti collection by Too Faced. This is their blush duo in the shade Cherry Bomb. And then right after, I'm gonna move back to the eyes. I'm gonna start smoking out that lower lash line using all the colors that we applied onto the crease. So the first color I'm going into is the shade Mood, which is that deep navy color. I'm gonna apply that onto the lower lash line using a smudge brush. Then to blend that out, I'm gonna go back in with that shade Persuasion, which is that deep kind of plummy color, and apply that right onto the lower lash line as well. Then for our final shade, I'm gonna go back into Pep Talk and use that to blend out Persuasion. I I definitely wanted to add a liner to that waterline, so I'm going to be using Urban Decay's 24/7 Glide On Liner in the shade Sabbath. This is a deep navy color, so it's going to go perfectly with that lower lash line. I love using the L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Primer right before I go into mascara because my lower lashes are really thin, so it's super hard for mascara to kind of grab onto them. So this just makes my lower lashes look that much better. So I'm going to add a couple of coats of that lash primer. Then while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my brows. As usual, I'm using my Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Ebony. I'm going to fill in all the sparser areas of my brows using light brush strokes. I didn't want like too heavy of a brow today because we've got a lot going on with the eyes. So I tried to keep everything nice and natural. Then to set those brow hairs in place, I'm gonna go in with my Anastasia Dip Brow Gel in the shade Dark Brown. And then once our lash primer is dry, I'm gonna add those last couple of coats of mascara. Next, I'm going to add some setting spray. Today, I'm using Urban Decay's All Nighter Setting Spray, and I'm just going to spritz that everywhere and just make sure to dry it down before I go into my highlighter. The highlighter that I'm using today is from Jolie Beauty. It's their Oh So Blinding Highlighter Palette. I'm going to be taking the shade Rising Sun and adding that on top of all the high points of my face. So cheekbones, bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, a little on the Cupid's bow. I also added some in the inner corners of my eyes. Then moving on to lips, I'm going to line my lips first using ColourPop's lip liner in the shade BFF3. Once I have my lips lined, I'm going to also add a little bit of that liner onto the inner corners of my lips just to make it easier to blend in my lipstick. I also use ColourPop's lip liner in the shade Pitch just to give the lips a little bit of extra definition. Then for lipstick, I'm using Urban Decay's Vice lipstick in the shade Stark Naked. This is in their Comfort Matte formula. I really like this formula because it literally just feels like a comfortable matte lipstick. Like it does exactly what it says. And it's just such a cute color. So I'm gonna apply that on to my lips and just make sure to blend it out using my fingers. And then finally for gloss, I'm gonna be using two different glosses. The first one is a MAC lip gloss in the shade Oyster Girl. Next, I'm gonna add my lip topper. This one is from JCat Beauty, and it's their lip tonics in the shade Pebbles BFF. And that is pretty much it for this look, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.